Hello everyone and welcome to another Bimmer Fixer video, and in this video I'm going to be restoring my steering wheel trim on my BMW 5 Series E60. So just like my very first video with the peeling steering wheel on my 3 Series E90, we're going to be taking all the trim off and completely restoring it. Just in this video I'm going to be showing you how to do it on the E60 because it's slightly different than it is on the 3 Series. So I'll be doing that and also going to film a bit more of the prep and the painting of the trim as well. I may actually do the top half as well because that's got a few scratches on it and the trim's actually gone a bit funny there, so after we've restored this bit it might actually look even worse. So if we can, we'll do both bits. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through everything we're going to need to remove the trim, get the airbag out of the way, which you don't actually have to disconnect, which is a bonus. You can just pop it up out the way. But yeah, I'll show you how to do that now and go through everything we're going to need. Okay, so the tools we're going to need are a T20 Torx screwdriver to remove the trim from the steering wheel and also the buttons off the back of the trim. I'm going to need something thin enough to go in the little hole behind the steering wheel at the bottom to release the airbag. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. I'm going to use a little Allen key, and you can use a micro screwdriver, anything really thin enough that will fit in the hole. So that's that. Prep wise, we're going to need some nail varnish remover. Okay, so this is to take the pre-existing paint, the rubber coating off, and to help that we're going to use some toilet roll, or you can use kitchen roll to wrap around the trim to really hold the nail varnish remover close to the bit of trim itself. Then we're going to use some 2000 grit wet and dry just to prep the trim for the paint, to make sure the paint's got something to eat into. Then we have some rubbing alcohol just to clean the trim down once it's been rubbed down, ready for paint. Got a little toothbrush as well. There's a few intricate little gaps and little gullies and things that rubbish can build up in, so we've got a toothbrush as well just to make sure that's all cleared out. Then we've got some paint, so I'm going for the stove and barbecue paint just like I did in my E90 steering wheel. It absolutely worked a charm. Looked really good after in the matte black and was really strong as well, really scratch resistant. So I'm going to use that again. Bought that online for about £6 or anything, but I'll pop the link for that in the description because that is really good. I have got some other matte black paint, but I just want to be sure that we got the same result as before, so that's popping on for that again. Optional, again, you can use some gloves as well just to keep the paint from staining your hands. You can use a heat gun as well. I'm fortunate today to have a nice hot day, so we might not need that, but it's nice to have sometimes to dry the paint in between coats, help speed up the process. Also, if you've got a lot of moisture in the air or it's quite cold, it's always good to warm the trim before you paint it, just to help the paint dry quicker. And we've got a little bit of masking tape. This is to excuse me, this is to mask the little M Sport badge at the bottom, so you don't have to worry about taking it off and putting a new one. Just pop a bit of tape on it. Okay, so that's everything we're going to need. So now what we're going to do, we're going to crack on. I'll show you how to remove the trim, remove the buttons, and then we'll go through the prep process and then start painting and then putting it all back together. Okay, so first thing you need to do is to engage your steering lock on your steering wheel. So just take your key out of the ignition, turn the steering wheel till it locks and it's in the upright position. Then take your screwdriver or little Allen key and pop it in the hole at the back, and eventually you will feel the little metal clip. That's it. And then once you've done that, you just push it up and then the airbag will then move forward and you can move it out of the way. Okay, so once your airbag has released, it'll give a nice satisfying pop. You can just lift it up and carefully place it on top of the steering wheel like so, and it'd be quite happy to sit up there. So just to give you an idea what went on then, the clips here, or that little bar you can see through there, and the ones at the bottom, they're the ones that actually secure the airbag. So again, if you pop the screwdriver or your Allen key in, and if you push up, I'm trying not to slip off it, can you see them moving there? So that's what's releasing the airbag. So you have got to push quite hard, but just to give you an idea how it fastens in. So okay, so once your airbag's out the way, and then we need to remove the plastic trim. So it's 2 Torx 20 screws there and there. Okay, so once you've removed the 2 torque screws there and there, there's just 4 pillars which are along the bottom there that go into the steering wheel itself, but they're not actually secured, they're just kind of held in there with friction. So once you've taken the screws out, just gently pull on it evenly and it will come away from the steering wheel. Now on the back you have the connectors for the buttons. There's a little black switch, or black plug, sorry, there you can see, and you've got a white one just here. So all we need to do now is just give them a squeeze and disconnect those, and then that will remove the trim away from the steering wheel. And then on the back again there are some T20 screws just under there, I'll show you properly in a second, and that will remove the buttons away from the trim. Okay, so once the 2 plugs have been removed, they are actually quite fiddly. To remove them, to make it a bit easier, if you push, so they're in that position when they're actually attached, if you push that way there on that little tab there and pull down, makes it a bit easier, but they are quite fiddly. So push that way and then pull down. So once they're removed, that just leaves the 2 Torx 20 screws there on the back of the buttons. Once you've removed those, then the trim is ready for prep. Okay, so the 2 sets of screws you need to remove for the buttons are those 2 there and those 2 there. I have had a closer look at the buttons themselves. You can take the cover off and the mechanism, but unfortunately you can't actually remove the individual buttons, so it'd be a bit tricky painting this half, especially today I'm on a bit of a time constraint. But all means you can mask these up, and you just treat this bit exactly the same as this one with the nail varnish remover and everything, but given the state of these compared to the bottom half most definitely needs the treatment first. So I'll probably come back to that at a later date, but for today we're just going to work on the bottom half. So now we'll just remove the button units completely, and then start removing the old paint and get ready for the new paint. Okay, so now what we need to do, we need to remove the old paint and the old rubber coating. So what we'll do now is we'll wrap it in the kitchen roll or toilet paper, and then we'll apply the nail varnish remover. Okay, so once the trim's been completely covered in kitchen roll or toilet paper, you don't have to make it too thick, just 1 or 2 layers, just enough to secure the nail varnish remover closer to the actual trim itself. Okay, so once you've given it a good dousing in nail varnish remover, just pat the tissue or the kitchen roll around just to make sure it's covering the whole surface, like that. And then what we'll do, we'll leave this to bake for probably about 5 or 10 minutes. We'll check it in 10 minutes, and then we'll see how we're getting on. It might need a little longer, or it might be done. So we'll see how we're getting on. Okay, so that's been about 5 minutes. So what we'll do now is we'll have a little look to see how we're getting on. Oh yeah, that's perfect. So 5 minutes is the magic number. As you can see, it's just peeling off. Lovely. That's exactly what we're after. So what we'll do now is we'll take off all the tissue, peel off what's left, give it a wipe down, and then we will rub it over with the 2000 grit sandpaper and then wipe it down, and then we're ready to paint. Right, so once you've removed all the old rubber coating, just give it a wash under some warm soapy water, just make sure that it's all gone. Pay particular attention to the edges here. You can get a build up of the old stuff there, and you don't want that when you paint, and also in the gaps here down by the M Sport badge. So you can just get your toothbrush, just get in there, give it a good scrub, and you will get the old paint out. It shouldn't be stuck in there too badly. And again, with that groove there and there, just run your nail down there or get the brush in there just to make sure there's no old paint there. And then put some more soapy water on, and then give it a blast with the 2000 grit sandpaper. Okay, so what we've done so far is we've rubbed it down with the 2000 grit sandpaper. Then after that we washed it off again with some soapy water. Then we made sure we didn't miss any bits. Then we give it a wipe down with the alcohol rub, and then we covered up the M Sport badge. Best way I found to do this was to lay a piece of tape across the entire badge, and then with a scalpel or even with a pin you can just dot around the outside or cut it and then just peel the tape off, and then that should remain. So all you've got to do is make sure that's all secure and covered the whole badge, and then you're ready for paint. So just make sure it's on a dust-free surface. I've given this a quick wipe down just to make sure there's no dust, anything that can fly up, and then we are good to go. Okay, so once you've given your stove paint a good shake, if you are in a cold climate, or it's just colder weather where you are, you can just give the can a bit of a warm up with the heat gun, not too much obviously, but just to help move the paint and chemicals around in the tin. It just helps the paint come out of the tin a lot easier and quicker. So what we're going to do is we will go for, we'll aim for 4 coats, we might go for 5. The first coat is just going to be a light dusting, and then just slowly increase over the coats. But when you start to spray, don't aim at it. When I did my first bit of trim on the E90, I started, if you've seen the video, it took me a few attempts because I would start to spray actually aiming at it, and then I could end up getting drips from the can onto it. So aim away from the trim and then come across it every time. But just when you start to spray, don't aim at it. Okay, so that's the first coat. Just like I said, light dusting. Really fortunate today. Like I said, the weather's really good. It's really warm and hot here, so it's almost drying straight away as soon as it hits it. It's quite breezy, so if you are outside, just be careful. You can't really help it, but sometimes you'll get stuff fly over and stick to the paint. So just do what you can to try and keep the environment clear of dust and debris. So what we'll do now is we're just going to repeat that process, and then catch me back up when we're on about coat 3. Okay, so that's 3 coats. First one being the light dusting, second was a bit thicker, third was the thickest yet. Looking at it, it's looking pretty good. What I'm going to do, it is really good light, but I'm just paranoid that I may have missed a bit, so and it won't harm to give it some extra strength. So I'm just going to give it one last coat, and then let it bake in the sun. May even give it a helping hand with the heat gun as well. But yeah, so this will be the final coat. But it's looking good so far. Also probably worth mentioning, it's easy to miss or forget about the bits around the outside or just there. You might not see it when the trim's off and you're like this, but when it's back on your steering wheel and you're staring at it all the time, I guarantee you'll notice if you've missed any little bit. So just be sure to make sure you go around the back. Doesn't matter if you do too much on the cover on the other side, you won't see that, but it's just this bit here. So you just want to make sure you get all the bits covered. Dripping warning, I'd say, from last time experience, just all the corners. So just there and on the ends here. Just be wary, if you go too close or too much too soon, it will actually run. So yeah, but I think that's think that's pretty much it now. So what we'll do, that's it. We'll let it bake in the sun now, and it should be touch dry in about half an hour. So I'll give it probably an hour or so, and then we'll pop it back in. Okay, so now what we've got to do is put everything back together. I'm going to leave the tape on the M Sport badge to the last minute, and then I'll just pop that off at the end. So first things first, what we need to do is reconnect the buttons back onto the trim. So that's with the two Torx 20 bolts there and there. Then we will connect them back to these two guys here, and then after that it will be popping the kind of friction support poles back in those sockets there, and then it will be the last two Torx 20s there and there, and then we'll pop the airbag back in, and then take the last bit of tape off the bit of trim, and we should be all done. I have just noticed, is there someone's initials there? Looks German. And a date 13th of the 6th, 06. So yeah, literally when this was being built. So that could have been the German guy that installed the steering wheel or something. That's pretty cool. Okay, so yeah, we'll put all the parts back together, and then it will be a case of just, like I say, taking the tape off, and we should be all done. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So once you've got your two sets of screws back in behind the switches, the two screws that secure the trim to the steering wheel, and your airbag back in, it's just a case of just popping it back in. Make sure it goes in evenly and level, and just push down, and that's it, and it'll just click back in, and that's all you need to do. There's nothing else, no other clips or anything. And then all you need to do is remove, if you haven't already, the bit of tape on the M Sport badge. So we'll just peel that off. Got a little bit of glue there. So what we'll do with that is we will just get a bit of alcohol rub on a cotton wool bud, and get rid of that. But I think you'll agree it looks loads better. I'm really impressed with that. So that paint really has done a great job. The light's not great in here, so it doesn't really you don't really get to see to its full, but it looks brilliant. We'll probably have to come back to these bits now, because I wasn't too minds if to do them or not, but now I've done this, the bottom half, the top half look really bad, but there we go. I'm very impressed. So hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it useful. If you did, please leave a like. If you have any questions at all, please leave a comment. I'll get back to everyone as soon as I can. And also thank you ever so much to all my subscribers. I really do appreciate it. It really does make my day every time I see I've got a new subscriber. So thank you very much. I really appreciate you all, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks again, guys. Take care. Bye bye.